right, we're gonna get started. Hope everybody's doing well, being safe, staying indoors, doing all that kind of good stuff. Um, this is my first time doing one of these webinars, and I have to do all the talking, but I'm looking forward to some interaction with all you guys. So we'll see how it goes. There's a couple of things I want to go over, and things I want to hopefully help you guys figure out. So for a lot of you weren't able to visit campus this spring because of COVID and all the restrictions, and for a number of people on the call who are juniors finishing their junior year, going into senior year, it's a time when you would normally do an unofficial visit. So in this opportunity in the webinar, I'd like to give you at least a glimpse into what campus looks like, what it feels like, where it is geographically. And then I also want to talk about our team, what we're doing, some of the changes that have been made in the past couple of years, some improvements, results, and some of the fun things that, occur if you're a member of our team. Because I think we've got a lot of really positive stuff going on and I'd like to share that with you guys. Then obviously another big piece of Caltech and something that we always get asked a lot of questions about is admissions. So I want to cover some admissions, things that, Caltech had planned to change before all this, things that are changing, with the current situation, and, what, kind of my thoughts are, what I'm looking for, what Caltech's looking for, and where I see this process going, especially for the rising seniors. Then after I kind of cover that topic, one of our players, Varun Shankar, is going to join us, and he'll be able to answer some questions as well, and talk about what it's like being a student here at Caltech and being on our tennis team. So like I said, I have some things I'm going to talk about. If at any point you have a question, put it in the question and answer part of this webinar. I'll see it, and if it fits into what I'm talking about, I'll try and weave it into the conversation. And if not, then hopefully I'll try and, finish up all the, extra questions at the end with Varun and I. And same thing when Varun comes on, if you have some questions, we have some prepared for him, but if you have some specifically that come up, feel free to put it in the Q&A part, and we'll cover it. So let's get started. And here we go. I will try and share my screen and give you guys an idea what Caltech's campus looks like. All right, so hopefully all you guys can see this. This is a virtual tour that exists on Caltech's campus website. There are a couple good slides that give us a good indication of some nice spots on campus that I want to show you, and then we'll just kind of look at a campus map, and I'll point some stuff out to you, and hopefully you get to see what Caltech's campus is like. So this first image here that we have is where our athletic facilities are. This drone shot will get us a 360 view that I'll kind of spin around here. This building right here is Braun Athletic Center, where I'm at right now, doing my webinar from. It's where our weight rooms are, locker rooms, offices, basketball gym. A lot of athletics operations go down there. And then kind of spinning around, here's our outdoor pools. Our track is back here. This space right here, locker rooms, some other weight rooms. This is the Brown Gym, the original gym that was built on Caltech's campus to house athletics. Back here we have another weight room that is specific to athletes, which is really, really helpful. And then as we spin around, we can see our tennis courts. We have 8 courts, 6 of which are lighted, and we just replaced all the fencing this year. And the plan is to still resurface the courts this summer, which is really nice. And then here are our soccer fields and baseball field. This is all turf. And another thing this higher view helps us do is, we can see these are the San Gabriel Mountains here in the background. They're pretty much visible from everywhere that you are on campus. And this is looking north, and everything north of here is, for the most part, the rest of campus. Once I show you the map, we can just look at California Boulevard, and that kind of intersects some of campus, but athletics is pretty much to the south of California, and the rest of campus is to the north of California. So that's kind of what our athletic facilities look like here at Caltech. Our next slide here is kind of in the middle of campus. So this is Beckman Auditorium. A lot of events happen here, and actually graduation happens actually on these steps when it is held in person. And it actually has a really nice view. This picture, I think if they backed up a little bit, you can see the mountains a lot clearer over the top of the auditorium on a clear day. But here we're a little too close and it's blocking it. But this is pretty much right in the middle of campus. And so if you can kind of spin around, these are some lecture halls right here that kind of go right through the middle of campus. And then here's a nice green open space. And for everybody who's wondering, the sky looks like that every single day. It's not too bad. Like I said, this is kind of just right in the middle of campus here. And so this next image kind of shows us where the dorms are. So this is going to be on the southeast corner of campus. Most of the dorms are congregated together, and Caltech's housing is a little unique, and it's separated into houses. And so some of the different houses are all sectioned off here, but all right next to each other. And there's some nice outdoor seating out here. And then this is just a nice place where people spend time outdoors. And here is, this is what some of the dorms look like here at Caltech. This is Fleming House. This is actually Varun's house. When he joins, you can ask him about the housing. He probably knows a little bit more than I do. All right, and then here is Chandler Dining Hall. This is the main dining hall on campus where a lot of the students will eat. We also, within the dorms, they do have house dinners where you eat with the people in your house. So that is something that's unique as well. But I would say for a lot of the athletes, with our schedule fluctuating with practice and being a little bit different than the average student, Chandler is where a lot of the athletes end up eating because it's open for a lot of hours and creates a lot of flexibility in terms of eating. This is the gene pool. So it's just an outdoor area that's nice for sitting. Obviously you can see the auditorium, Beckman Auditorium in the background. So from where we were looking at before was right over here, and then the open grass area was facing that way. This is to the west of the auditorium, and just a nice kind of outdoor place where you can sit down. And the gene pool is aptly named because it has double helixes running through the bottom of the pool here to kind of create some art within the water. And now this is right in the middle of campus. So this is Milliken. This is the library, and it's the tallest building on campus. And it's a great spot for if you ever get lost, even though our campus isn't that big, you can always see it and always find your way back to the middle. But everyone walks around here. You walk through here to get pretty much everywhere you need to go. But this is a really good representation of the type of architecture that exists on Caltech. A lot of the green space and the trees and the archways and outdoor walkways. And it's just a really nice place. And then the auditorium is back this way, straight ahead. And then this is the mall, the open green space that was in the other slide. Hopefully giving you kind of an idea of what campus looks like. But a lot of these buildings right here are classrooms and labs and lecture halls right around the library. Here's just a picture of a laboratory. And then this will be the last one we'll look at. This is the turtle pond. So As you can see, Milliken is right here, so this is directly to the east of that. You kind of come down the hill. But this is just a really nice area on campus to come sit, walk through, and there are a lot of turtles there. It isn't just called the turtle pond for no reason, and they like to come out in the sun and sit out on the rocks, and you see a lot of other kind of wildlife around here too, which is nice. It's a nice, calm and peaceful place. And I think this represents one thing I really like about our campus. One, they do a really good job of upkeeping the grounds, and it's nice to be outside. But campus is very confined in a way because we are in Pasadena, which is a pretty large city, but there are no roads that run through campus. So while you can go off campus and do stuff that exists in a city, once you are on campus, it has a very much different feel to it. It's really quiet and it's really nice and peaceful, and it almost feels like you're not in a city when you're on campus. And so I like the option for students to be able to kind of go between one or the other, whichever one you prefer. But I feel like this picture and the turtle pond itself is very much a representation of like that and what campus is, and it can be whatever you want it to be. Okay, so now I'm going to give you guys just a brief look at what campus looks like. So here is a map of campus on Google Maps. So here is Beckman Auditorium, which I showed, the large white building. And then here's where the mall would be. Here is where the library is, and here is that pond in this central area of campus right here. And then over this way is where the turtle pond is right here. And then we scroll down, here's California Boulevard, tennis courts, athletic fields, Braun, and this is where the track is back here. So if it gives you kind of an idea, but like I mentioned before, if you kind of can tell, California, and some roads over here, but pretty much all central in campus right here, there's no through roads, so it's a really nice, safe, quiet area. So in the context of where we are geographically, I'd just like to zoom out a little bit. And so we are very close in Pasadena. Here is Lake Street, and there are a ton of restaurants and stuff for students to do over here, and that's only 2 blocks away. So if you have a car, if you don't have a car, it doesn't really matter. You can walk there, and there's a lot of really nice restaurants and shopping all within walking distance, which is really great. And then we zoom out a little further. This is Old Town Pasadena over here. As you can see, I have highlighted and saved a ton of restaurants, places I like to go. But this is a little bit more of the downtown area, and there's a ton to do there. And obviously you have to have a car to be able to drive there, or Uber or whatever, but just that's where the downtown Old Town Pasadena is, as opposed to campus, which is right here. So if we zoom out a little bit more, just to give you an idea, here's the Rose Bowl, obviously very close to where campus is, and in Pasadena. Who knows when 100,000 people are going to be getting together again, but they can host it if they ever do. And then keep zooming out so we can see these are where the San Gabriel Mountains are. There's a ton of hiking up here. If you like outdoor activities, they're all incredibly close, to campus in Pasadena. If we kind of scroll down a little bit, here's where downtown LA is, Dodger Stadium, maybe 20 minutes from campus. Without traffic. With traffic would be another story. But just to give you an idea of where we are in the greater LA area. So there's Pasadena, downtown Los Angeles. Here's Hollywood area up here, and then Beverly Hills, and then Santa Monica and the beach all the way over here. And probably, on a good day without a ton of traffic, you can get to the beach in 45 minutes or so. Yeah, that's kind of where we are in the grand scheme of Southern California. Oh, okay, we got a question. Where are the dorms on campus in terms of the map? I can show you where they are. So the dorms are right here. And actually, if I switch over and show a satellite view, all these red roof buildings right here, these are all the dorms kind of they're connected even though they're separate. So they're all pretty much right here. And then we do have one dormitory that was recently opened within the past year, um, and that is this construction area up here. So that is a different. This one has singles where, for the most part, everyone down here, if you're in a dorm, you're sharing it with one other roommate. But I would say majority of the guys on the team live in one of these dorms, one of the houses that are down here. And it's actually really convenient for them because you can see where our tennis courts are. For them, that's a 30-second walk, maybe, depending, as long as you can cross the street. They're really close to the courts, so it makes things really convenient for everybody. Cool. Okay. Got another question. Are the students allowed to stay in the dorms for 4 years? Yes. You can stay in the dorms. Okay. So that pretty much is all I wanted to show you guys for campus. I hope that kind of gives you an idea of what campus looks like here at Caltech. All right. So the next topic I want to cover is some of the stuff about our team. This finished my second year here at Caltech. Things have been going really well. I'm really excited for the positive momentum our team has had the past couple years. One thing I wanted to highlight, before we get started into our results, is in the past couple years we've had a really strong support from our administration. So the reason I became the coach here is because the administration decided to split the coaching position, and I coach just the men's team, and the previous coach, who coached both men and women at the same time, now coaches just the women's team. And if you look across the country, you look at a lot of the top teams in the rankings, a lot of them have split head coaches. And to coach two teams, men and women at the same time, it's pretty common in Division III. And, it's tough. I've pretty much done that my entire life, and that was one of the big draws to come to Caltech was the ability to coach one team. And I think it's really paid off because I can focus on just the guys on the team and really work hard and have a lot of time to just focus on them, and I don't have to spread it across 20 22 different people. So I think that's a real positive change that we've made, and both men's and women's tennis teams have really made some positive steps since the split. So beyond that, the past couple of years we've had some really good results. Last year we came in and Caltech had never beaten anyone in the top 25, and last year we had 3 top 25 wins. We beat Whitman, and we beat Tufts, and we beat Pomona Pitzer for the first time in school history, which was awesome. And then last year we had Varun and James were doubles All-Americans, and Varun was a singles All-American, made the NCAA tournament, won his first round match. He made some real progress, finished as number 10 player in all Division III in the country. And so that was last year. We had some really good results. This year, obviously, cut short, like everyone's season was. So it was, unfortunate because I think we had a lot of progress and we were really playing some good tennis, right? We were getting to the bulk of our season in March. Even with that, Varun and James became doubles All-Americans for a third year in a row. They made the finals of regionals and then made the ITA Cup, which is kind of like a fall national tournament. And that was really good. So that qualified them for All-Americans for a third year in a row. I think Varun probably would have been All-American singles again had we been able to play the whole season out, but he didn't get that chance. And thankfully this year we got to play some matches where some other teams didn't. So at least we got something in, and we did we did take our team trip to Hawaii, which we had planned. We were doing that in January. So we got to make that happen, and I was pretty happy because I think the team had a lot of fun, and we got to play some matches, and it was really fun kind of bonding experience for the team. So I was glad we got that in before the season got cut short, where I know there are plenty of other teams around the country that didn't get nearly as much. Maybe they didn't play any matches at all. So we're looking forward to next year, and we have some solid recruits coming in, and we're happy with the progress that our team is making here. I do have some questions that were submitted in advance that kind of fit into the team category, so I can kind of cover them now. First one is a pretty common one, but what do you look for in recruits? There's a couple of things that I really think are important in recruits and something that we really talk about on our team. Doubles, the way college scoring currently works is really important. So if you have any doubles experience, or you have some doubles results that exist, that it's harder to find on UTR or tennis recruiting, those are always great to know. Because if a player has some doubles, experience and can jump in and get some, playing experience in the doubles lineup right away, that's a huge bonus for us. But in terms of, the mentality or the person that I'm looking for, something that we talk about as a team is competing every day, all the time. It doesn't take skill to compete, but it has a drastic impact on your results. And there are certain things you can control, and there's certain things you can't control, but you can always control how hard you're competing. And that's something we focus on day in, day out, and every match. And that's something that I want to see in recruits. So when it comes to junior tennis, obviously things have changed now, but play your consolation matches. I want to see someone who wants to play. That kind of stuff's really important to me. And then the other thing that I think is really important in terms of recruits, something I try and figure out if you have it, and sometimes it's hard, but resiliency. I think resiliency and being resilient is something that is hard to come by nowadays. And the ability to get knocked down and get back up. And, within the course of a tennis match, that happens a lot. You lose a lot of points, and you lose games, you lose sets, and it's not over. So if you can show that you're resilient, and you can do it in a match, you can do it in practice, you can do it in the off season, those things are really important to me when it comes to what I'm looking for in a recruit. Another question we had was, how do you determine the lineup? I'm sure some of you on this webinar play high school tennis, some don't, and I'm sure maybe your lineup is structured in various different ways. Here we don't play challenge matches to determine the lineup. How we go about the lineup is I use everything that we do, whether it be practice sets or results from matches, or every detail, and I put the best 6 players out that I think are going to win today. And that can change. There are, we're allowed to make changes in our lineup, with college tennis rules. But normally the lineup will fluctuate based on how you do against other teams. That's our measuring stick. That's how we, gauge our results. So if you're winning matches, you're going to be in the lineup, and don't be surprised if you get moved up. If you're losing matches, don't be surprised if you get moved down, or if I give someone else an opportunity. It's kind of, pretty self-explanatory. And this is the kind of the way I've always done things. And if anyone has an issue, my door is always open, and you're welcome to come and talk with me about, where you are, where you think you should be, and I'll tell you where I see you. We'll have an honest conversation about it face to face. Next question kind of falls into the team category. How do you handle academic conflict? This is pretty simple. For the most part, if you have class, then you go to class. You never miss class or practice. We really don't miss a lot of class for matches. The majority of our matches are later in the afternoons or on weekends, and we play 75% or more of our matches at home because a lot of teams come to California for their spring break. So pretty much the whole month of March, we're at home every single match. And the only road matches we really play are some of our conference matches in April, which are Friday afternoons or Saturdays. so really, we don't miss class for practice for matches. So it's pretty easy. You have very few conflicts, and I will say the professors here at Caltech really treat students like adults, and they let you figure stuff out. And if you want to miss class, it's up to you to kind of make it up and catch up with the work and kind of go from there. And then last question about the team part, which I thought was an interesting one, is what is your fondest memory at Caltech? So I think for me last year when we beat Tufts was the circumstances was such an interesting match. So the day before we're at practice, and I don't know, I hope Varun's on the call or not. I hate to out him, but we were practicing the day before, and Varun plays number one, plays doubles with James. James plays number two. Warming up, Varun hits the ball, the racket flies out of his hand on the follow through, and somehow flips through the air and hits James right in the mouth. And like the edge of the top of the racket hits his tooth and chips his tooth. Like, what are the odds that it goes that way and actually hits him? And like, just crazy odds. So we got to take him to the hospital and get that all sorted out. We're set to play Tufts the next day. So he can't play. James is out. Our number two player plays number one doubles, like huge loss for our team. So we go in, kind of shift the lineup around, play Tufts. We lose at one doubles, lose at three doubles. It comes down to number two doubles. Connor and Patrick are down 2-7, and we're playing an 8-game pro set. And they come back and tie it at 7, and then we play a tiebreaker and they win. That's like crazy comeback to save the one doubles point. So we go down to singles 1-2. And then singles isn't starting out great. We lose, I think, 5 of the 6 first sets, across the board. But then, let's see, Kevin at 3, Miha at 4, Patrick at 5. They all come back and win in 3 sets after losing the first. And then Matthew wins at 2 after he stepped up to, replace James to win at 2. And so we won 4 3-set matches to win the match 6-3, which I thought was really crazy. And just the circumstances of how everything happened, like our guys showed a lot of resiliency and really made that match pretty awesome. It was pretty fun. Okay, so we have some more questions. Cool. This one might fall in here. And I got this one too. What is the most popular major on the team? So I think we have the majority, the most popular major on our team is definitely computer science. But we do have a number of different majors. We've had chemistry. 2 guys who graduated last year were engineering. One was mechanical, one was electrical. Varun is bioengineering, I believe. And we do have a couple, Kevin's math, applied math. But I'd say the most popular currently is computer science. Okay, so here's a good one about our schedule. This kind of falls into the academic conflict thing. So one thing that's really great about our schedule, and that's great about Caltech in general, we practice 4 to 6 p.m. pretty much every day. And the main reason is because we're in California and we play tennis outside every day. It's pretty awesome. To live here, and I don't know, we actually have people on this call from all over the world. I don't know what your weather is like, but today it was hit just about 80 and sunny, and it was pretty awesome. So most of our whole season we play outdoors and we practice 4 to 6 every day, and that makes life really easy for you as a student to balance your academics, because there's nothing that changes with practice. It's 4 to 6 every day, and you can schedule around it. For a lot of D3 schools that are similar to Caltech, who are located in colder areas, it is a lot more difficult to manage your time because you're using indoor courts, sharing space, potentially going off campus, maybe early in the morning, maybe late at night. It's going to fluctuate. The school I was at previously is in the Northeast, and we played indoors, and sometimes our practice was 9 to 11 at night. I mean, that was tough. Like, what do we, like, that's our only time that we could get time, but when do you eat dinner? When do you do your homework? Like all those kind of questions like that have to factor in if a practice is 9 to 11 at night. You know, we really don't have that here. We practice 4 to 6 every day outdoors. And it's pretty nice. Okay, so next topic I want to cover is admissions. Um, so I am going to drop a link into the chat here. I've sent this to a lot of you already, but this is really, really something that's important that you guys should be checking out. So the link that I just put in there is from admissions directly, and it's something they just put out this year. It's a really positive guide about academic preparedness, what kind of classes you should be taking, and both, especially math and science. And if Caltech is a school that you're really considering seriously, you need to read that article and make sure you're on the right path when it comes to math and science classes. Because as everyone who's on this webinar knows, Caltech is extremely competitive when it comes to admission, and you need to do whatever you can to make yourself, you know, a strong candidate and stand out amongst the many other smart students who are applying. So make sure to read that after the webinar is over. Take a look at it, talk with your parents about it, talk with your guidance counselors, all that kind of stuff. The biggest update I think for Caltech that we have right now in terms of admissions is before all this happened, we had eliminated the requirements for the subject test. So SAT Math 2 and SAT Science subject tests previously were required, and now they no longer are. And also Caltech will not accept them. They do not want to see them. There's a number of reasons why, but for them, if you get an 800 on Math 2, congratulations, but that's not really going to make a difference here at Caltech. We're just going to look at your SAT and your ACT, and we do super score for the SAT, but we do not super score for the ACT. So just something to consider when you're thinking about all of your testing. I know some schools are already saying they're going to go test optional next year because of COVID and the impact on SAT and ACT dates this summer. Caltech has not made a statement about that, but I would be very surprised if they go that route. I would expect Caltech to still require the SAT and ACT this coming year, but that is just my opinion, and they have no official statement on it yet. Just something to consider. And I know a lot of you who are finishing your junior year, rising seniors, a lot of you already took the SATs a lot earlier. So that might not be, a huge thing for you guys. So the other thing I want to highlight in admissions before I start answering some of these questions, I probably sent to a lot of you an application guideline kind of document, but it highlights in there that what you do in your STEM activities outside of the classroom is really important. Like I said, Caltech is very competitive in admissions, and they look for something that will elevate you from the rest of the students. And to them, that is showing some type of STEM activity that you're really interested in, that you do outside of the classroom. And that is really important because this year we had a number of recruits apply, and I can tell you I did have a student who had a 1600 on the SAT who got denied. And I wasn't shocked that he got denied because his outside STEM activities were pretty much nothing. So he was really smart, but he obviously didn't apply himself and didn't show a passion for STEM subjects outside of the classroom. And those can be a wide variety of things. Of the students who were accepted and students who are coming, they do a number of different things. A lot of you would do, math or science competitions. Those help. Do research, do an internship, do independent study. One of our incoming freshmen next year was on his robotics team and really led the charge there. When it comes to CS stuff, you can take some online classes to really further, your interest in STEM. develop an app, do whatever, do something, and tell admissions, why the thing that you did really makes you want to come to Caltech. So that's a really important piece as well if you want to, come to Caltech and show admissions that, you deserve to be here more than some other people. Question in terms of my influence in admissions. So kind of how we go about communicating with admissions from the athletics department is we do have the ability to fill out a support form, and that will go into your file, and it will get read during the application process. But as of right now, we don't have a slot. We don't have any way to guarantee admission. Caltech is a very tough school to get into, and with it being a slightly smaller school, there's no way we can guarantee admission from the athletic side. But I do think it does help a little bit that we have someone fighting for you. If you're a recruit that I think is going to help our team get better, I'm going to do what I can to try and show why you would make a positive impact on our team and make a positive impact on campus using that support form. I think it helps. I'm sure different coaches across Caltech would have kids who got in and have kids who didn't, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I think for a lot of you, if you have really strong application, having that support form as an athlete helps. That's just my personal opinion. There isn't a difference between being an athlete and being just a regular student in terms of admission. You apply the same way, apply either early action or regular decision. The only thing that differs is, I can help you, guide you through the process, and then I can fill out the support form for you. So that was a recent question. So here's a good question. What percent of recruits that you have supported got in since you have come to Caltech? So my first year, I started kind of late. I started in mid-August, which is pretty late for that class that was full of rising seniors. I ended up supporting 6 students, and they eventually all got in. A couple of them got deferred, but eventually got in. So ironically, I had 100% success rate my first year, which is definitely not the norm. This past year, we had more students apply, as this was my first full recruiting cycle, and I had 19 players between early action and regular decision that I supported, and 13 of them got in. A couple of them also were deferred, who eventually got in as well. So they did some really positive things and communicated with admissions after getting deferred. But still, 13 out of 19 is kind of a slightly higher percentage than the average student body. But that was just me specifically for tennis. I know some other sports didn't have as high of a number this year or in previous years. The other question was, do you do early reads? Caltech does not do early reads through admission, but kind of what I've come to find out in these past 2 years is, I can take a look at your application and I can give you an idea if your application is going to be competitive or not. And, a lot of that falls into, you can do some of that yourself when you look at the link that I sent about the preparedness, and if you're taking the right classes and you're getting A's in them, great, then you're probably going to have a strong application. If you're doing some outside STEM work that's unique and awesome and shows your passion for STEM, great, then you're probably going to be a pretty competitive applicant. If you're not doing those things, then you're probably might not be a competitive applicant. So I think I've been able to help, guide some of my recruits through that process without having an official early reads, kind of process through admissions. And even if we did, it wouldn't really help because we don't have early decision, we have early action. So an early read from admissions would probably be the same answer that I could give you based on how our system is set up. So I've gotten this question from a couple different recruits about early action versus regular decision. For me, it doesn't matter if you apply early action or regular decision in terms of being considered for the team. Both work, especially because for a lot of recruits who apply early action, they don't end up deciding until March or April anyway, until they hear back from other schools. So it doesn't really make a huge difference. The only difference it makes for me is what are your chances of getting in? So if you have a strong application and your test scores are good and you did some really strong STEM work and your application is as strong as it's going to be by the time early action comes around, then I say let's go for it and let's do it. That's the best time, and we'll give it a shot if that's as good as it's going to be. However, if maybe you need to take your test one more time, and especially this year with testing, canceled and pushed back, there might be students who need to take the SAT again in September, October, November to try and get their scores up. Or I've had a couple of recruits in my time here who their school doesn't allow them to take physics or calculus or some other class that is required until their senior year. And so admissions really wants to see your grades from those classes. And if you apply early, you only might get like one semester or one term's worth of grades. But if you apply regular, you can at least show half of the year's worth of grades in that class. And that's another reason to apply regular. Applying early versus applying regular doesn't really make a difference in terms of how admissions looks at you. If anything, I think sometimes applying early could be more challenging because the other students who are applying early also fit in the same category that I just described. They're really strong students. Their application is ready to go, and the pool that you will be judged against will be tougher. In regular, you might get some random students who are like, oh, I might want to go to school in California, and they might just click in. So it might bring the averages down a little bit. And your application might look a little stronger in comparison in regular versus early, but that all depends year to year on the pool and that kind of stuff. Let's see, what else? On average, how many players do you recruit per year? So in the past 2 years, let's see, our freshman class this year was 3 players, and then we have 5 players coming in next year. For me, I really try to not put a number on how many recruits I'm looking for. I try to keep recruiting very simple and say, is this person going to help our team? If the answer is yes, then I want that person on our team. And then going through the process of supporting you and whether I fill out a support form, I will make that pretty clear throughout the process if I plan on filling out a support form for you. So you don't really have to have a question there. But yeah, in terms of number, I really don't. I think this year went well recruiting a really strong class, and with 5 players coming in and only losing 2 seniors, we will have a slightly larger team. So that is something to consider, that our team is very competitive for playing time. We have a lot of really good players, and for the most part, obviously 6 singles players play. You can have some players who play only doubles or only singles, and we do have some of those. But we'll probably have 14 guys on the team this year. And so, if you're 12, 13, 14 on the team, like that can be tough. I expect you to put in the same amount of work as everybody else, and you might not play in that many matches. But granted, you could be a freshman and you can improve and you can work up to, be an impact player by the time you're a junior or senior. But that's, what happens when you join a competitive nationally ranked team. A lot of the other teams are going to be in a pretty similar situation to that. So I don't have a number that I'm specific year to year, but in the future, if our team stays large, I might try and limit it to 2 or 3 just because, there are some realities that it will be tough to manage a team, more than kind of where we're at. 15, 16 players is a lot. But we kind of take that year to year, and there's a lot of things that, happen and that can change that, mentality. Answer that one. So yeah, here's a good one. If you are not accepted for early action, can you be considered again in the regular decision pool, or will you be rejected? So if you apply early action, there's a couple options of what could play out. You could obviously be accepted, you could be deferred, or you could be denied. If you are deferred, your application will go into the regular pool and be compared to the students in the regular pool for your application there. And if you are deferred, you do have the ability to submit additional materials. You can do an additional letter of recommendation, show more grades, um, write a personal statement, talk about how much you really want to come to Caltech. You can submit all those things. And the students that I've had, I really kind of helped guide them through that process because Caltech was really their top choice. And, last year, a couple of them got deferred, but they really stuck with it and they communicated with admissions a lot and talked about how they really want to be here and continue to have really good, strong grades and really stayed in contact with admissions. And those things are important because I think that's what helped them become, an accepted student in the regular pool. So I kind of think that covers all I wanted to talk about in admissions. Let me see if I can find Varun and see if I can add him. All right. I've had some more questions and I'll probably try and save a few of these for the end. All right, here we go. We did. Here comes Varun.
There we go.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. How about yourself?
Good. I'm glad you're here so I can not talk for 50 minutes straight again. It's a lot of talking, but cool. So we had a couple questions that you can answer, and then we'll see what questions, might roll in on the chat as well. So, Varun, a very common question, what does a typical day look like for a Caltech student athlete?
Yeah, I think for a Caltech student athlete, basically you wake up, hopefully earlier than later, like other college students, but, somewhere around 9. Classes for freshmen usually start around 10, which gives you plenty of time to a little bit of a later day than other universities for freshmen. So class will start around 10, and you'll have pretty much class from 10 to 4 with a few breaks. And then 4 to 6 is our training time. So no classes are allowed to take place from 4 to 6 p.m., which is really convenient since you won't have any conflicts with other classes. And then after 6, stretch out, go back to the dorms, have dinner with your housemates or with your teammates, and all of that you will usually wrap around by 7:15. And then for 7:15 onwards is pretty much, just work on homework sets, usually in groups. So it's not, backbreaking work because it's still, to be honest, like homework is both your social time as well as your time to learn. So it's a pretty enjoyable daily routine. And then, as long as you need to work, you work, and then probably around midnight or 1 o'clock, you'll go to bed and then just repeat.
Cool. Sounds good. So another one, we just got it in the chat, but we answer it all the time. How do you balance school and tennis?
Sure. So I think it is challenging. There's no doubt about it, but I think everybody at Caltech is balancing something. So some students are balancing, coursework and research. And, I think we have over 100, certainly over 100, maybe even close to 200 students who are, participating in a sport and doing the Caltech curriculum. So it is challenging. I think a lot of it functions into how much you really enjoy the other things that you're doing. And to me, like that's what makes the Caltech experience so great. You know, the classwork, and you're gonna have fantastic, uh, you're gonna learn a lot in the classroom, but what really makes your Caltech experience special is all the exposure and all the things that you have available outside of the classroom. So that's what's really special. And for tennis, I think to speak a little bit on the men's tennis side specifically, we're in a unique position in the fact that our season is only in the spring. So which means that we have the opportunity to train all year round, even in the non-traditional season as a team. You know, the captains will organize practice, and you know, there's some flexibility to what times we can work out based on our schedule in the fall. But that does mean that we will work out, you know, 5-6 days a week continuously throughout the fall and then leading up to our season.
Cool. I also think there's, something I always add when it comes to talking about balancing, uh, the academics and tennis. There's a couple of factors that I kind of already touched on, but one is like our consistent practice schedule. It seems like you guys have a pretty consistent schedule, both within practice and within your homework. For the most part, like we practice 4 to 6 every day. Like that doesn't change. Like that's pretty set. And then, at least the kind of vibe that I've got from you guys is with your homework, like it's pretty scheduled out. Like you have a physics problem set due every Thursday. So what's coming that week. There aren't a ton of like surprises. So there isn't like a week where you have no homework and it's great. And you're just like relaxed. And then the next week you get slammed by, every professor, drops a big project on you. It's, relatively the same kind of work every week. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, that's true. It's quite structured in the sense that you have, you know, like Jason said, a physics test due every Tuesday, you know, math test due every Wednesday. And the nice thing is week to week, it doesn't change much. So in other universities where you may have a midterm this week in one class and a midterm the next week in another class, for us, it's a pretty structured schedule. So you can anticipate what are going to be my heavy days and try to work ahead in those areas.
Here's a question that kind of falls into that. So, do you ever feel challenged to get a healthy amount of sleep during the year?
I think, I don't think the amount of sleep is, you know, I think we're all getting healthy amounts of sleep. Sure, there are days where, you know, you might have to stay up and you might see the sunrise, but I think that's inevitable wherever you go to any top university. But I do think, you know, if I'm being honest, the sleep schedule is probably shifted back a little bit later. You know, Caltech students are famous for being night owls, so, you know, it won't be surprising if you're working up at 3 a.m. And, you know, there's another group of students who are working on a different class and they're also giving you company. So, you know, it's not uncommon to stay up a little bit later, but I think the amount of sleep is certainly, I think students get enough sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another. We don't have morning practice at Caltech. It's definitely not happening. So, especially, that, like I said, that's helped because we can be outside from 4 to 6, but yeah, definitely no morning practice. But another thing that I haven't really touched on, but kind of fits into that. When it comes to practice and kind of those, like Varun said, there are days where, you're going to be up all night doing homework or you get behind on a problem set and it just happens. The one thing I really think is helpful is tennis is really flexible in a lot of that. And I can be flexible as well. So if someone says like, I'm pretty sure Varun, you've done it. Like, coach, I didn't get any sleep last night. Like I'm dragging, like, even if I come to practice, like I'm going to be useless. And so I say, fine, like go home, go sleep, go take a nap, do whatever you need to do. And then the next day, like we can go out in the morning and we can do individual time to make up what you missed at practice, in addition to the normal individual time that we do with the students normally. So we can be pretty flexible, which helps obviously balance the schoolwork and the tennis. So there's a handful of other questions that kind of relate to the same topic about outside of school and tennis, do people participate in other clubs, organizations, research, any other extracurriculars?
Yeah, I think that's one of the great things about Caltech experience is that you have the coursework, you can play a sport, and that is not exclusive at all to participating in other activities outside the classroom. A lot of the guys on our team are involved in research. Even throughout the year, we have a couple of guys that are managed to, do some significant contributions to their lab work throughout the year. Like I said, it does take somebody who's, you know, motivated and really cares about the work that they're doing, but certainly there's enough time in the day to do that.
Yeah, I think maybe Varun is too modest, but he is, in addition to being an All-American and our number one singles player, he is student body president for your class or for the whole student body.
For the whole student body.
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, it is capable. It is possible of doing other things. You know. So yeah, there's a couple questions that also kind of blend together. They asked what are strength and conditioning and fitness, kind of what that is structured like. So you know, I can kind of talk to that. We do obviously work strength and conditioning. I think depending on the where we are in the year, it varies. In the fall, we have like a short little season where we have ITA regionals, and we'll play there. So that season is pretty much just trying to get everyone in shape, ready to go for regionals. We don't have a ton of time. We only have about 3 weeks of that season, and normally it's about 2 weeks of practice before regionals start. And then once we transition into the off season, and this was another question too that kind of is about the off season, I can give everyone on the team a workout plan and some instruction in the off season, but nothing can be mandatory. So the team kind of organizes all their activities in the fall. But if I give them a workout plan, they can obviously follow it and ask me any questions about it. So I think our workout plan normally has a team in the gym lifting 3 days a week, and they kind of hit when they can in the days in between. But that's obviously, like I kind of said about the balancing with school and tennis. That's the one great thing about tennis. It can be incredibly flexible. All you need is one other person on the team to go out to the court with you and have the motivation to get better, and you know, you can make that happen. So the guys do a pretty good job in the off season of being pretty active. It has them in the gym. And then once we get back into our season in the spring, we'll start in January. January and February are pretty light in terms of matches. So we'll stay in the gym, you know, 2 to 3 times a week, you know, normally after practice, depending on how everything's going. Then once March hits, we play a lot of matches. That's when a lot of teams come out on their spring break. So the, you know, time in the gym kind of gets cut a little bit just because we're trying to be healthy and be 100% and recover for all of our matches. Because normally we'll have 2 to 3 matches a week during March. And then once we get into April, same kind of thing. We have 2-ish matches a week. We're still trying to, you know, just do a little bit of maintenance and recover and be ready for those matches. And it's, you know, hard to kind of peak for a long period of the season throughout March and April, but, you know, we kind of try and do our best. And that's kind of, you know, where we fit in. And everyone, same kind of thing in the summer, everyone has their workout plan that we can give them. And everyone, you know, can kind of go off on their own, because for the summer, everyone goes off to random places and does research or internships at, you know, various places around the world, and just tries to do their best to keep up with their weight training. So there was one question: do student athletes have part-time jobs? As far as I know, does anyone on the team have a job?
I think there's a lot of like small jobs that a lot of student athletes will take. So I know one of the most sought after jobs is, you know, a library shift on Sunday night or Saturday night, you know, where you can just sit and do your work and essentially get paid. Caltech actually does have a work study program for students where they find different jobs. So, you know, you can be somebody on the sidelines who collects volleyballs during the volleyball games. You can take stats at a basketball game. And so they have these different opportunities that you can do for a couple hours, 2-3 hours a week, that are available. And some student athletes will do that.
Yeah. One quick question: when you travel for matches, does the entire team travel or just certain players? You know, in the past, we've had everyone travel to away matches when they've been on conference matches. And like I said, we have a ton of home matches. So everyone's there for the home matches. So we have a pretty good cheering section for our team. Although losing Miha will lose a lot of our voice. But Varun, what lifelong lasting memories have you made as a Beaver?
Oh, I don't know where to start. That list is quite long, but I think tennis tennis has definitely played a central role in that. And some of my most memorable experiences are definitely from tennis. So, freshman year, we were, a younger team who was, competing and trying to basically prove ourselves. And then comes around to sophomore year, and now people are trying to look at us differently. And we've had a couple big top 20 wins. Most memorable was, beating Pomona when we were down. I think they just needed one more match to clinch, and we came back and won 3 or 4 straight matches in 3 sets. And it was enjoyable to see the look on their faces when they realized they lost to Caltech for the first time. So
Yeah, I did. I don't know if you were on or listening, but someone said, "What's your fondest memory about Caltech?" For me, and for me, it was when we beat Tufts, and so I had to tell the whole backstory about how that
oh god,
played out.
that is not one of my most
I know.
fond memories.
I know. Yeah, probably not for you specifically, especially how the match ended. And plus the James mouth scenario,
Yeah.
but yeah, as a team, it was good. Um, so there's another question. What kind of stuff do you guys do off campus? Do you guys ever go around LA?
I think that's something that we always talk about doing. You're like, oh, let's go to the Venice Beach, or let's do something, but it always becomes a little bit more challenging to execute. Just for a couple of reasons. One is driving around LA is going anywhere is a long adventure because of the traffic, especially in the weekends. The times that we have don't really align up with when traffic is low. So that's the biggest hurdle. And the second hurdle is obviously Caltech schoolwork is such that you don't want to miss out a couple days of going somewhere. But we do have long weekends sometimes. So President's Weekend, or I think there's a couple weekends in the winter term where we have 3-day weekends. So houses will take ski trips and beach trips. So in your own house, every house will go to either Big Bear or Mammoth, and they'll go skiing for a weekend. I think the first weekend in the winter, on either the fall or the spring, the entire house will go together and rent a place, and either somewhere in San Diego, and spend some time there. So the great thing about Caltech is that you're not left to find activities to do by yourself. Either through student government, we host a lot of different activities on campus, or we'll rent the entire movie theater out and have ask a movie night, or the houses will have a lot of activities in the weekends, or they'll go and organize things together. So a lot of things are already organized for you to just join, and they're pretty organic in a sense. So we do a lot of things, but a lot of them are organized, and so it's more convenient that way.
Yeah, I think for me, I do. I'm trying to think. I don't think we did anything specifically this spring, but we did go to Hawaii. But I do try and get you guys out and do something, because I mean, for people who don't live around here, there's just infinite possibilities of things you want to do. Any type of food that exists in the world, you can get it here and it's good. And you can go to the beach, you can go in the mountains, you can do. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy living here. It's a lot of fun. And I think if there's one thing that I think Caltech students don't do enough of, even within Pasadena, it's get off campus enough, which, has its pros and cons, because that shows that there's a good, vibrant, kind of campus community that exists, and, they're happy being there. But I do think Caltech students could get off campus a little more and experience life a little bit more and get out there. But I do my best to try and help the team get out there when I can. Oh yeah, so here was a question that kind of is one we talked about. What was something that you wish you knew going through the recruiting process, or something that you learned about Caltech afterwards that you wish you had known to start?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I wish I had known about Caltech is every school is looking for a different type of student, but I think one thing that Caltech really emphasizes, and that they would love to see you reflect in your essays, is that when you're coming to Caltech, you're really part of a community. And this sounds very cliche to say that, but at no place, more than Caltech is it true that when you're coming to Caltech, they're really trying to fit a puzzle together. So they want to see what can you contribute to the entire group. what skills, and it doesn't have to be something unique or something that they've never seen before, but, through your essays, it's really helpful if you share your perspective and not just your experiences. So they want to really see, okay, you've done these experiences, but how have they shaped you? How have they shaped your perspective? So that's one thing I wish, I had known, and I could have geared my essays more toward that. And the other thing is they're really looking for students who are committed to science and STEM, and they want students who, everybody thinks about a well-rounded student, but I think at Caltech, it might even be true that they will look for a student who's well-rounded, but also has a spike on one side where, they're pretty focused and interested in a certain space. And that space can change, obviously, but they want to see continued interest in a certain thing, or you've maybe picked up something by yourself and you've, created an app, or, you've done research, or you've studied something. They want to see that you have some sort of intellectual curiosity in science, and that you've kind of taken that on yourself.
One other question was, what was your biggest challenge your freshman year?
I think everybody goes through the same challenge of, and that's, learning how to balance things. It's definitely challenging in the sense that you want to kind of learn how to optimize your time and manage your time, in the sense that, how much extra effort do I put in this homework? Do I go and read this chapter before class? Or, so that's the primary challenge is, balancing your time. And it's a lot to take in because you're already thinking about what classes am I going to take? What am I going to major in? What I have to find a surf project. So I think to that extent, having at Caltech, your teammates are a great resource. You have unparalleled access to upperclassmen who have gone through the experience before you. And so I think, leaning on that support structure of students who are really, we at Caltech, we love to help each other because, for myself, I was only able to, take part in a lot of experiences that I was able to because of the people who were older than me, and upperclassmen that have helped me. So, I think the toughest part is going to be to learning how to balance everything. And I know it's challenging to think about, but, truly experience and time does help with that. And that's one of the great things about having pass-fail the first two terms.
Yeah, and we didn't really cover that, but for everyone who doesn't know, for Caltech is on the trimester system, so we have 3 terms throughout the year, and the first 2 as a first-year student are pass-fail. So the fall is completely pass-fail, the winter term is pass-fail, but you get shadow grade, and then the spring, you get your first grades as a first-year student. So it really gives you a lot of time to, get used to campus, get used to being away from home for the first time, get used to the academic rigor of Caltech, and then you can get going. So that's good. So yeah, I think that is most of the questions, I think, for Varun. So thanks for coming. Thanks for helping me out.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys next year, or in the years to come.
Future years, yeah. Yeah. Thanks, and I'll be in touch. All right. So last thing I wanted to cover was one question that I thought was pretty important. Someone talked about what kind of preparation should we be making for recruiting during these times, during the COVID and everything that is occurring. And I think it's going to be really interesting how everything's going to play out. Obviously, there's a ton of unknowns, both within Caltech and then higher education as a whole. So, whatever I might say could be proven completely wrong in, a matter of weeks. But, in terms of Caltech having early action and regular decision as opposed to early decision, I think Caltech's really in a positive place right now, especially when it comes to recruiting, because I'm sure some of you are looking at schools that are considering early decision, and maybe coaches, are pushing you towards early decision. But I think it's entirely possible that as fall comes around and you're unable to visit those campuses, and everyone's in a different position during their recruitment, but I think it would be really hard to commit to a school and apply early decision without actually visiting and getting to know what campus is like and getting to meet the team and doing all that kind of stuff. So Caltech, even if your application is ready and you want to apply early action and we can go for it, that's great. If we're able to visit in the fall, great. We'd love to have you, and we can set up some visits, for all of you rising seniors. But if we can't, that's okay. That's not a huge issue for us. If you can apply early action, we can, see what happens and walk you through the process. And then you can visit in March or April, when our season is happening, and do your official visit then. There's a lot more flexibility that comes with the way Caltech's admissions is set up versus some other schools that might have early decision and might be pressuring you to make a decision earlier than you want to. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like I said, I think things are, a lot of things are going to fluctuate. I think Caltech's trying everything they can to have in-person class in the fall. So hopefully if that's the case and we're able to have visitors, we'd love to have some people visit in the fall. But we'll just take that, week by week, day by day, and kind of see what happens. But then other than that, I think with these times, the importance of doing a STEM activity, to show admissions, your passion for STEM could be challenging this summer. I know a number of, students who were finishing their junior year, rising seniors, who had internships or research lined up that has been canceled. That's going to happen. And I think admissions is hopefully going to be willing to hear everyone's story and say like, hey, like I tried really hard to find something, or I had something lined up and it got canceled. And if you are a rising senior, do whatever you can to make something happen, even if it comes down to, doing an online class or, doing some type of independent study, doing something remotely. You can show that drive, you can show that resiliency. I think that's going to pay off big time in admissions this year because there's, a lot that's up in the air. And if you can show that you can manage that, you can roll with punches and get stuff done no matter what, that's going to be really positive, I think, for you when it comes to how admissions looks at you. So that kind of concludes everything I want to talk about. I hope this was informative. I hope you learned a lot. And I will be putting this on YouTube. So if you missed parts or you want to go back and listen to answers again, you'll be able to access that and check that out at your convenience. And also, I just wanted to put out there for everyone. Hopefully, you learned a lot. But if you still have questions, you can email me, call me. We can set up a personal Zoom, with you and your parents. I'm open to that. Without students on campus, I don't have a ton going on. I have a lot of free time. So if you guys want to talk, we can certainly make that happen. If you want to do something one-on-one as opposed to this webinar where I just talk at you for an hour plus. If you want to have a little more back and forth, we can certainly set that up as well, and that would be great. So hope all of you learned something. Hope you all stay safe, and go Beavers. See you later.